How's it going, everybody? I'm back in Fallout 4. This time I am at County Crossing, and I'm going to be building a Scavenger's RV. So, it's just going to be like a pretty simple build overall, just really scrappy. A lot of this is going to be just kind of building up on the scrap, and then also building up the inside and stuff like that. The floor of this interior is really unlevel. It's really wonky and stuff because there's like a space for the tires on the backside. But it's not like unfixable. So that's pretty much what I do. I make the interior level, and I also build up the outside to kind of make the outside of the settlement a little bit more defended. So same thing as the previous build. I just placed down some of these cinder block walls to kind of fill in the gaps between the actual edge of the other junk wall and then this junk wall. And so I had this smaller one. I realized pretty soon I'll realize that these aren't really going to work. These aren't keeping anyone out. And I end up getting some bigger pieces. I didn't want too long of pieces, so I just got these taller ones that aren't quite as long. And I try to place this one as close as I can to that one. And I can see that it all is really close, and so I just go ahead and pillar glitch these into line with all of these other ones. And so it kind of clips through a little bit, so I have to fix that. What I just tried to do doesn't work. It only works when one of these walls is facing the correct way. Whichever wall you're moving has to be facing like a certain direction. And so pretty much right here, I am trying to watch the inside through that window to make sure that nothing is clipping through. And now I'm trying to get the right angle. So I move this over because I realize that's probably the pillar causing the issues. But I think this angle is probably the best angle that I could get. I can see the side of the RV. I try to move over so I can see exactly where that is. I'm trying to fix that corner with the other one, and it ended up working out. And then I thought about putting some cinder blocks on the inside, and I went ahead and didn't do that. Then, to kind of make it look a little scrappier, I just placed a tire wall right out front. And then I put another one down on that right side between this, move it out a little bit, between the tire wall that I just placed and the one for the other build. It's placed up a little bit more because I think it's the exact same one as that other build. And then on this side, I thought about placing another tile wall, but I went ahead and just used some sandbags, and I just pillar glitched these in over here. And that left sandbag I end up moving because I wanted to kind of have an angle going around the build. So this is supposed to look like it's a little bit defended and also really scrappy, like a scavenger's house. They've got tons of junk everywhere that they've like collected over time and all that stuff. And like I said, I was going to move this. So I just moved that out and then try to make it kind of wrap around the front of the RV. I go to the other side because I feel like that side is a little bit more curved in the right direction to do this. So I place it as close as I can to this, and you can see, I think that it looks alright. And then I was just going to put some scrap down. Uh, since this is a scavenger, I wanted to use the I bought uh, like scavenging station that you get from uh, the Automatron DLC. You can find it in the Mechanist layer, the blueprint for it, along with the Spotlight. So if you guys don't have that, highly suggest picking up the Automatron DLC because they're two really cool looking items that you can get in the workshop. And yeah, I fixed the daylight. I fixed the lighting. It's no longer nighttime. And I wanted to kind of section that off from the front door of the house. So I just used this wire fence and I just place it on this side going behind, and I look and it's not really clipping through or anything like that too awful. So you can still see the post. Thought about placing a barricade out front to kind of make it look like the person's also ready to defend themselves if they have to. But they're going to be inside the walls, so it doesn't really matter. I wanted to have a little scaffolding like roof area out front. And you can see that picking up the scaffolding is kind of hard if you tried to pick it up from anything other than the actual like corners, like the pillar part that hold it up. And so I pretty much just pillar glitched this in. I didn't like the placement of it at first, so I ended up using place anywhere here in a little bit because I'm just fidgeting with it, and it seems like the only time I can get it to work is when it clips through the wall, and that just looks ridiculous. So I go and grab my place anywhere tool, which I have over here by my workbench. I move those out of the way whenever I start to record like tours of builds, and yeah, I just moved that out a little bit, and you can see it's not clipping anymore. And so the next thing that I want to do is I want to grab a roof from the woods tab, and I end up using one of these like scrappier looking like raggedy ones. So this one right here, this is one of the flags from one of the groups in Nuka World, but you can't really tell. It just kind of looks like a tattered cloth. So I wanted it to look really like ripped up and scrappy, real tattered and stuff, worn, and yeah, I think that works for a little like balcony area. And then I just pillar glitched this back into place. I don't think that I actually had this in the finished build. I may have, actually. I may have just forgotten it was over there. Yeah. So I must have just placed it there and then I forget about it. But the next thing that I do is I start figuring out things to place outside of this. Oh, okay, so I was figuring out how I was gonna, when I looked through the spikes, I was trying to figure out what I was gonna put on the outside of the wall. And then I thought about putting these down on the front end to kind of keep those tires in place. It makes it look a little bit scrappier as well. But I don't want it sticking too far out in front of the like area leading up to the front door. So I do end up moving that farther over that way. And I think that it fits right there. I go through a couple of these things. I thought about having like this little railing kind of leading that way, being a little bit into the ground, so it just looked like they kind of found that and just like threw it there in the pile. But I go against using any of this stuff. No real like use for it to me. And I went back to these barricades because there is that army fort right down the road. So that would explain how they got this kind of stuff to me. And so all I'm gonna do is I'm gonna place this where it leads up right next to the front of the RV. And I don't really care about the clipping too much on this side because I feel like that's not a detail that I'm really going to pay attention to. It's mainly just making sure that it's like blocked off and stuff. And also how this area ends up looking, it's kind of covered anyway, so you can't really see it. But over on the inside, yeah, over inside of this, I am trying to figure out how to uh, make this floor a little bit more even. And so what I end up doing is I place down a couple of these pallets throughout. You'll see them kind of hidden in the gaps of the build, and I figured eventually I was like, this doesn't have to be completely covered with pallets. Just I do have these kind of sitting where you can see them in certain areas of the build, so that's the main reason for those. Also, it makes it easier for me to build the plywood pieces that I'm gonna build. And I moved that a little bit more central. And so, yeah, now I start working on the plywood. Like I said, it made it a little bit easier having these uh, pallets here. And it probably would have looked better if I didn't cover it all the way up. This one I end up covering all the way. And I thought that the way I did this interior was really interesting. I make it look really good, I think. I make it work out for what it is. Uh, the main thing I'm referring to is it's kind of hard to fill in this entire thing since it is kind of a rounded shape. And I think that I did a really good job of filling in the corners of the rounded areas uh, with what I have available. And you'll see what I mean when I get to it. So I end up grabbing these pieces, and you can see that that corner is pretty round, but there's also these pieces. So there's this one and another one that have really rounded edges, and I think that they look really well. And so pretty much I moved this up a little bit because I couldn't get out of the actual building. I had that placed in the wrong spot. So now I can get out smoothly. And then I have to move this because I was trying to get Place Anywhere to work in there and it wasn't working. And so I end up moving the plywood afterwards. But I grabbed the Place Anywhere tool, place it on top of that corner, and you can see that it fills in that corner pretty well, you see? And I do the same thing for the other corner. Same piece, I just turned it so you can't really tell it's the same piece. Also, a majority of it on the first one is covered by another plywood piece, and nothing's clipping out. So I do that a lot where I check for pieces clipping outside of this build. But yeah, so since it's Friday, Destiny 2 came out on the 6th. And yeah, so I just want to say again, like, that's going to become a very big part of my channel is Destiny 2. Because Destiny 1 was a huge thing to me. I loved that game. It was probably one of the first, like, I don't know. I was going to say one of the first games I ever got, like, really into multiplayer-wise, but I've been playing Grand Theft Auto for years. But I was in, like, a clan, and I did all the raids all the time. I had 3 maxed-out characters, and I played those constantly to, like, grind for gear, grind for loot, all that stuff. And, like, I never got tired of it. I loved that game. It was so fun. And, yeah, I'm just really excited to play Destiny 2. I'm really excited that I have this game now, and it's going to become a really big thing on my channel. I mean, not everyone, it's not going to be for everyone, I understand that, but hopefully you guys are, like, willing to watch my content and watch me enjoy the games that I enjoy playing. I really enjoy playing Fallout 4. That's why I started uploading I enjoy the build mode on this game. I think it's fantastic. It's probably one of the most fun things I've ever had to play with in a Fallout game. Because, I mean, I've played all the Fallouts except for, like, the originals, obviously. I've not played 1 or 2. I don't really know anything about them other than they were kind of like overhead, like, RPG kind of things. They were really old. And I never had a computer back then. I only had, like, Sega and PlayStation 1 and stuff like that. The Fallout 1 and 2, those are really old school, and I never got a chance to play those because I didn't have the right things to play it. But so right here, I'm just trying to board up the windows because this is on the edge of the settlement and it is supposed to be a house. So pretty much I just board up the windows and I go inside to make sure that it looks okay. And I think that I may end up leaving it, but because I can't get it to work any other way. So I tried to get the least amount of clippage as possible, but I really don't like the way that that looked. I do go back later and I change that, I think. But I'm just boarding up all these windows. I really should have just used place anywhere, like right off the bat. Eventually, I think I get around to it. That clips through on the outside, but I don't mind it too much. And then so I try to do the same thing on this one, and it ends up working. It does clip through a little bit, and I try to fix that. Try to get rid as much of the clipping as possible. And I can't really get it to work. I slowly move it around. And I feel like that's probably the best that I could get it without place anywhere. And I think eventually I did go move these a little bit with place anywhere, but I may or may not have recorded that because it was just a lot of work, a lot of extra work. So, like I said, I was just boarding up all the windows. But where I was going before is hopefully you guys don't mind me playing new games. Usually when I make videos, they don't do as well if it's a new game or a different game, really, because I know a majority of my viewers are here for like my Fallout 4 videos. They're not here to watch me play anything else, because I mean a lot of you guys came over from no respawns, and then a lot of you guys have just came for my builds and stuff in Fallout 4. But hopefully you guys are willing to watch me play some other games and stuff. And if you guys do have PlayStation 4s and stuff, like I said, I don't mind like playing with you guys either. We can play Destiny 2, we can do raids, we can do PvP, stuff like that. And I think that that would be pretty fun to be able to play with you guys. I might live stream a lot of Destiny 2. Just because I feel like that'd be easier. Also, I found this pretty cool section in USO of destructible walls. I just was looking at them. I was just checking them out because I didn't know what would fit on that front side of the house, where the RV is facing outwards into the waste. And so I ended up grabbing one of these outer caps, and I'm just trying to pillar glitch it in to make it look a little bit more defended. I move it out here because obviously the way I was trying to put it in wasn't working, and then you can see it works as soon as I turn it around. And I'm trying to move it far enough out to where it doesn't clip into the RV, and then also close enough that it looks like it's actually being used to defend it. And then on this end, I pillar glitch this rack of tires in. And something I didn't show you guys was that I put some spikes into the actual like stack of tires that I put on the front of the RV. The spikes came from Aslam's junk wall pack. They have like spikes with heads on them, then just regular spikes and stuff. You can see them poking out right there. Just it was a really lengthy process, and it took a long time to get it to work. So this part, I'm actually just building up on top of the RV. I wanted to have something up here. I want kind of every building that's on the outskirts of the wall to kind of have something like this where people can walk up on top, guards can go up there. If the settlement's being attacked, there's a vantage point on every part of the settlement, so every building they can get on top of from the inside of the settlement and defend themselves from any direction. But right here, there's some holes in the roof of this, so I'm just trying to fill these in. And I had an idea for this one on the end. I was gonna cover it up, but then I didn't. Main reason that one of the first reasons why is because it's kind of lifted up anyway. It kind of looks weird, but on this side, these are both pretty flat. And so right here, I'm just placing these plywood pieces down, and when I go to actually look at this, you can see it's all floating. So I just grabbed the place anywhere tool. Shouldn't have put it on this end, doesn't make any sense. Should have just put it on the other end first. And then I place this one to where it's also just over the cover. And so this is the last bit. I wanted to turn this, the last hole that I hadn't messed with into like a chimney type of things. So I shouldn't have used cinder blocks on all four sides. And you'll see that I changed that in the tour. So right here, this is actually my second attempt at making a chimney for this. And mainly because everything I built didn't really look right. And then I couldn't get a hold of the rug that was on the bottom now. But I take all of these up top. That was just to make it easier when honestly it really didn't. I grabbed the place anywhere tool because I'm going to start using the place anywhere tool to pick up the rugs. And so I move these off of each other so I don't accidentally pick up any of the rugs or pick up any of the other cinder block stacks. And then I go through and I pick these up one by one and I place them across the top of this. So I do change this in the final tour. What I ended up doing was I made 4 high stacks of cinder blocks and I placed those 2. I didn't mess with these next 2 at all. And I placed them off the edges, the left and the right side, 4 high. And then I used some shack walls or railings, and you can see it kind of makes good for a chimney type thing. And the final tour will be here in a second with all the decoration and everything. But yeah, I really like the way that this looks. Looks really scrappy, real nice. I added a little walkway out front. I'm probably going to have little walkways like that throughout my settlement. And yeah, I just think that this turned out really cool. Really junky and yeah, looks lived in as well. But got a little shopping cart from Aslam's workshop decoration pack. And a generator. Like I said, you can't see that clipping of that barricade into the back of the RV because the generator is kind of in the way. And on this side it looks really scrappy. Got some spikes sticking out of that stack of tires. Up there you can see what I did with the chimney that I said that I was going to do. And that ends up being better. It's a lot more open. Doesn't cover up any of that grate on the roof. But if we go inside, you'll notice it's super scrappy. But I guess we're going to go up top first. I added just a couple barrels and stuff like that, some scrap up here as well, and then also a grill and a chair, like a actual like porch chair. It's pretty easy to do that top port, and then show you guys the little walkways that I built. Add a little welcome mat. But you can see that this doesn't look too bad going in here. It looks really scrappy. All this furniture and stuff is from Aslam's workshop decoration pack, and then also makeshift furniture. You can see that chimney works. Makes sense. And then, yeah, that's a really interesting couch. Got a shelf up there with a bunch of Nuka-Colas and stuff on it. Tables from Aslam's workshop decoration pack, and then this sweet workbench that comes with makeshift furniture. I didn't show these in the mod review that I did, but I think that that's a really cool mod. But let me know what you guys think of this. Let me know if there's anything else that you guys would like to see, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Have a good one.